In this video, I want to show you how I upgraded my blog from Next.js 12 to Next.js 13. The upgrade wasn't too bad. Let me show you what I needed to change. Let's start by looking at our package JSON. You can kind of see some of the dependencies that I upgraded here. We upgraded Next to Next 13. Next 13 requires React 18. Here is one of the big first changes that I needed to make. So this is having to do with the next link component. In Next 13, they made it so you didn't have to have this anchor element nested under the next link decorator. Now you can just use next link as a link, which is a nice upgrade because honestly, this was kind of a pain in the butt. As you can see, sometimes ESLint, or in this case, ESLint was yelling at me saying, hey, this is not a valid anchor. This is not accessible, but it's like, hey, this is just how it is in Next. So this is a welcome change. Luckily, I didn't have to change much with my project because I actually have this A function that wraps the next link. So I don't use next link throughout my project directly. I use this wrapper A function. And I do this for this very reason, because if Next introduces a breaking change, then it hopefully makes it so I don't have to update the code all over the place. And in this case, it actually helped a lot. All right, so the next thing that changed in Next 13 is the image component. Again, like the anchor tag, I'm using my own abstraction here that's wrapping the next image component. So I call it capital IMG. As you can see, they deprecated the use of their layout prop. Now it's just a Boolean here. So as I show you some of the usages here, you'll see how I had to change this. And unlike the anchor component, I am taking the Next.js image props as props here. So I did have to change a little bit more of my source code to support this breaking change. I may want to think about maybe using my own props here and hide all of the Next.js specific stuff. Previously, we had to give it this layout equals fill and then this object fit equals cover here. But now what they want us to do is just give it the fill Boolean value. And instead of having a special prop for object fit, we just give it essentially the CSS for object fit cover. And then another thing that they have here is this sizes prop. And this is basically like the source set prop on an image. And this is just to improve performance. And so Next knows kind of what size image to render. So the next thing that I had to change was due to upgrading from React 17 to React 18. One of the things that React 18 wants is the rendered HTML output needs to be the same on the server side as it is on client side. This is the change I had to make to one of my components. Obviously, the server side doesn't have access to the window object. It doesn't have like window.navigator. You can't access those things from a Node.js context. So what was happening was on the browser, I was rendering some certain HTML. On the server, I was rendering some different HTML. And the only way you can share is the context is running on the client and navigator.share does not equal undefined. And a similar thing here, you can only copy if you're on the client and navigator.clipboard is also not undefined. So on the server, obviously it was not on client. So when you got to this if statement here, it would return null. On the browser, it was on client or was running on the client, and navigator.share was present, or navigator.clipboard was present, and this would continue to like return the component. So you can see there was a mismatch there where the server would return null and the browser would return the component. So what I needed to do here instead is I needed to use React state and use an effect to initialize this state once I know the component has mounted. Now on the server, these are going to be false, and this is going to return null. On the browser, it's going to be the same exact thing. These are going to be false. This is going to return null. So it's not until this thing mounts and we hit this use effect hook that we can determine if we can copy or if we can share. So this was actually a change I needed in order to support React 18. So that's pretty much all that was needed to upgrade from Next.js 12 to Next.js 13. Wasn't too bad. Did you have any issues upgrading your site to Next 13? Let me know in the comments.